Welcome back everyone to the channel. Today we're going to talk about what's happening with Cardano and the broader crypto market as of March 15th, 2026. Right now, Cardano ADA is experiencing some very important governance activity within its ecosystem. The Cardano community is currently voting on several major proposals, including a highly significant one involving the withdrawal of 50 million ADA tokens from the treasury. This proposal represents the first tranche of the Orion Fund initiative, a large venture-focused program created together with Draper Dragon and connected to venture capitalist Tim Draper's investment network. The goal of this initiative is to help drive ecosystem growth through venture funding and support innovative projects building on Cardano. At the same time, ADA's price has been navigating a period of volatility and downward pressure. This video is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered financial, investment, or trading advice. Cryptocurrency investments involve significant risk and market volatility, and prices can change rapidly. Always do your own research and consult with a qualified financial advisor before making any investment decisions. The views and opinions expressed in this video are based on publicly available information and personal analysis at the time of recording, and may change without notice. The creator of this content is not responsible for any financial losses or decisions made based on the information presented in this video. Throughout mid-March, forecasts have often placed the price around 6.25 cents, showing that ADA has been underperforming slightly while dealing with broader market uncertainty. Currently, the price has been trading near the 26 area, while the ecosystem prepares for another major development later this month, the expected late March launch of the Midnight Privacy Chain, which is a highly anticipated upgrade aimed at expanding Cardano's capabilities in privacy and data protection. Despite the excitement surrounding governance and development, the price action has been frustrating for many traders. Right now, we're seeing ADA trading near some of the lowest prices we've seen since around this same time on Thursday, which means that most of the gains from the past 48 hours have essentially been erased. That's disappointing because earlier we actually saw a strong breakout for ADA and even for Bitcoin. At one point, ADA climbed above 28 cents, which marked the highest price we had seen since earlier in March. However, the market quickly reversed, and ADA fell back into a lower structure once again. Bitcoin experienced something similar. BTC surged all the way up toward roughly 74K, which was also its highest price since March 4th, but it eventually fell back into the familiar trading range between about $68 4K and 71K. Yesterday, the market actually started the morning with some solid momentum. We were seeing short leverage liquidations building up, which typically pushes prices higher, and the overall market sentiment looked pretty strong. But later in the day, things started to change. Altcoins began showing hesitation for about an hour, and then Bitcoin started pulling back. Once BTC began to drop, it dragged the rest of the market down with it, which is something we often see during periods of uncertainty. As a result, the leverage liquidations flipped direction, and over the last 24 hours, we've actually seen a nearly perfect balance between long and short liquidations. That's a classic sign of traders chasing price moves and getting caught on both sides of volatility. A lot of this market reaction seems to have started after some major economic news came out yesterday. The latest report showed that U.S. Q4 GDP slowed down significantly, coming in at just 0.7% annualized growth, which was far below the 1.4% estimate that analysts were expecting. That's a major slowdown and marks the weakest GDP quarter we've seen since the first quarter of 2025. In fact, it's the fourth weakest quarter in the past 5 years. What this data suggests is that the economy has slowed down considerably, and when economic growth slows, financial markets usually react quickly. Some of these reports were delayed due to recent government shutdown issues, so investors were already on edge, waiting for new data. Once the weak GDP numbers were released, combined with ongoing tensions in the Middle East, the stock market reacted very negatively. In just the first 4 hours of trading, roughly $980 billion in value was wiped out from the U.S. stock market. To give you an idea of how significant that move was, the Dow Jones dropped to some of the lowest levels we've seen since November 2025. The Nasdaq has also been hovering around some of its lowest levels since November as well, with only slightly lower prices seen briefly at the beginning of March. This massive sell-off in the stock market spilled over into the crypto market, pulling down Bitcoin, altcoins, and of course, Cardano along with it. We had talked before about how a large equity market drop could potentially drag crypto prices lower, but the magnitude of the sell-off was bigger than many expected. When economic data comes in this week, there really isn't much traders can do in the short term because macro conditions begin to dominate the market narrative. Another factor to consider is timing. Rallies that happen heading into the weekend often lose momentum because trading volume tends to drop off, which makes it harder for markets to sustain upward moves. However, what I will say is that if we can move through the weekend with prices holding relatively steady around current levels, that could actually set the stage for renewed momentum when markets reopen with stronger liquidity early next week. So while the short-term price action might look frustrating right now, the bigger picture for Cardano still includes major governance activity, venture investment through the Orion Fund proposal, and the upcoming midnight privacy chain launch, all of which could play an important role in the ecosystem's long-term development. If you enjoyed this update and want to stay informed about Cardano, Bitcoin, and the entire crypto market, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next update.